Hello, good people. Welcome to Good Things Fashion Tutorial. Today, we are going to learn how to make six pieces skirts. Six pieces skirts, and in order to achieve that, I have here with me 6 yards of Ankara fabric and my ruler and tape measure and chalk and my scissors. Now, the first thing we are going to do is to fold our fabric, and we actually need 2.5 yards to 3 yards to make a 6 pieces skirt. You need minimum of 2 yards, but the standard is 2.5 yards to 3 yards to make a 6 pieces skirt. And the measurements required are our waist. My waist measurement is 44. My hips is 48. You need your hips. Then our waist to knee measurement. Mine is 19. We also need our skirt length for the to in order to achieve our 6 pieces skirt. And the first thing we need to do is to fold our fabric, and in order to do that we need to do some calculation. First of all, we need to determine the our skirt flare, how wide is going to be. You need to determine how wide you want the flare of your skirt to be, and the standard measurement is 90 inches for the flare all round. For the 6 pieces skirt, 90 inches, but you can use 100 inches. And if you really want a wider flare, you can use 120 inches. But it actually depends on the available fabric that you have. It can be even higher than 120, depending on what you want to do. So, but here I'm going to be using 90 inches for my fabric, for the flare of my fabric. And that 90 inches, the next thing we need to do is to divide it into six. You divide whatever you have decided to use for your flare width, you divide it into six, and that 90 divided by 6 is going to give me 15 inches. So for my 6 pieces skirt, each panel will be 15 inches in by the flare. So I folded my fabric using that 15 inches uh, for the width of my flare at the bottom of the skirt. The 15 inches plus 1 inch joining allowance plus 1 inch sewing allowance. That's what I use to fold it. Now the next thing is to input our measurements. And here I am, I'm trying to measure out my the length of my skirt. The length of my skirt is 37 inches, and that's what I am marking out right now. I'm marking out my skirt length. I'm marking it out on two sides so I can draw a straight line. This is me marking it out. And drawing my line for the skirt length. Now the next thing is to input my hips measurement, the measurement for the upper part of the skirt. This is me marking out my hips measurement. My hips is 48 divided by 6. I'm cutting out, note that I'm cutting out the front panel of the 6 pieces skirt first. I'm cutting out the front panel, and in order to achieve that, I divided my hips by 6, then plus 1 inch sewing allowance, 1 inch joining allowance. 48 inches divided by 6 is 8 inches plus 1 inch joining allowance. That gives me 9 inches, and that's what I marked there. I now marked out my knee length, the length from my waist to my knee, and that's what I'm ruling out. The waist, my waist to my knee, and I came up from that knee length. My knee length is 19. I came up from that knee length by 3 inches. I came up by 3 inches because you cannot put the corner, the slant of your skirt, you cannot put it directly on your knee in order to not to hinder your easy movement. So you have to come up by either 2 or 3 inches from the knee so that you can move easily. And that's what I did there. I now mark my hips. I also mark my hip measurements, which I already determined, which I said is 9 inches. I marked it on that line, on that hips, on that knee length where I came up by 3 inches. I marked it there, and from there, I'm now reeling, taking my ruler and joining from that knee to the end of the flare of the skirt at the bottom of the skirt. I'm joining my flare to the knee area, to that place where I said I came up from the knee. You come up by 2 or 3 inches in order for you to be able to move easily. And that's exactly what I just marked out and cutting it out, cutting out my the front panel of my 6 pieces skirt. That's the front panel. And because I am using elastic waist, I'm not going to use a zip on my skirt. My skirt, the front panel is going to be the same size with the back center panel. The front center panel, which I just finished cutting, will be the same with the back center panel. But adibin, I'm using a zip. I'm going to, instead of that 1 inch joining allowance, I'm going to add 2.5 inches joining allowance. 1 inch being a joining allowance, 1.5 inch for zip allowance. If you decide to put a zip on your own, you need to make allowance for the zip for the at the back. And but I don't use a zip on my skirt. I prefer to use an elastic in order to have if a skirt with full integrity, no fear of zip damage or having to watch out for my zip getting worn out when I'm outside. So this is me trying to cut out the center panel at the back by placing the front center panel on top of the folded fabric. And this is how it's going to be. If you are going to use a zip for your skirt, this is how you are going to place the front panel. You have to make allowance for the 2 inches or 2.5 inches of the zip like this. You have to move your skirt to the front and leave 2 inches at the back. But because I'm not doing that, that's why I'm moving that front center panel back to be equal with the folded side of the fabric. After that, making sure that they are well placed, that they are both equal, then I'll just cut it out because the same size, the front center panel of the skirt and the back center panel of the skirt, it will be the same because I am not using a zip at my back. And the best thing is to make sure you label each panel of your skirt. This is me labeling it center front and center back, center front and center back, CF and CB, so that they do not get lost among the 6 pieces. By the time I finish cutting all the 6 pieces, you need to label each panel to make sure that you know which is going where. Center front. The next thing is to cut the side panel, the two side panels of the four side panels of the skirt. You know we are making a 6 pieces skirt, so we have cut out 2 pieces out of it. The remaining are the two side panel in front and the two side panels at the back. They are also going to be the same size. The four panels are going to be the same size, but they are a bit larger than the center panel because we have to join it together at the side, and you need to leave allowance for joining and also for future in case you need to loosen it, maybe you got bigger or anything. So we need to add 1 inches. That's what I'm doing here. After placing the center panel on top of the folded fabric, I'm adding 1 inch on the side to make sure that the side panel is bigger than the center panel. It has a joining allowance, and also there is a method I'm going to use to line the 6 pieces skirt that require more that will require more joining allowance, which I'm going to teach us in a separate video. This is me ruling my line for the side panel after marking out the 1 inch extra for the joining of the side panel. The side panel are two in front, two at the back, one on each side of the front and one on each side of the back. So we need to add that extra 1 inch in order for us to be able to join the side panel together and still have a fitting, not too tight skirt. And this is me labeling it again as my side panel. You can see it, that's my side panel. And I'm going to use this to cut the remaining three because they are all the same size, two in front, two at the back. So I will be cutting the remaining three side panel using this first one that I already cut. And if you notice how I don't know if you notice the method I've been using to cut the skirts. In order to save fabric, in order to not to waste our fabric, you make sure that each time you want to cut the a panel, you turn the larger side of the panel, the hem of the panel at the flare, you turn it to where the fabric is wider, which is going to be where it was the top of the skirt when you were cutting. You turn it the other way in order to save fabric. I could have decided to cut all the four panel for the side at once, but that would have been a waste of fabric. That would have wasted fabric. But with this method, I get to save fabric because the one side of the fabric will be larger, while the other side will be slimmer. So I get to turn the panel I'm going to use to cut it out. I turn it round, and in order to take advantage of that larger remaining side of the fabric that I folded in this manner, you turn it over so that you save fabric along the way. This is all the 6 panel after I finish cutting them. I already finished cutting all the panels. Please watch out for the joining of the 6 pieces fabric. Our measurement is still, we still have a lot to do concerning measurement and styling during the joining. And also I have a special method of lining the 6 pieces that you really love. Please watch out for the joining, the video that will detail the joining of the fabric of the 6 pieces together. Now this is me measuring out the band, my skirt band. I'm using 5 inches by my hips measurement, 5 inches for the width of the panel. I will use one half inch on the two sides to join it to the skirt, and 2 inches for the elastic. That's what I'm measuring out now. 5 inches for the panel, 5 inches and by width, and the length is my hips plus I added about 2 inches extra for joining, for sewing allowance. That's 5 inches I am measuring out, and I'm also measuring out my hips plus 2 inches sewing allowance, and that's what I'm going to use for my band, for the skirt band. I'm going to input my elastic inside it. I'll fold it over in this manner and join it to the skirt, and I'll also input my elastic into it. Please like, share and subscribe, and also put on your notification bell so that you'll be instantly notified the moment I post any new video. Please watch out for the video on the joining of the 6 piece skirt. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you.